Modulación, no.
Teoría 5.
¿Ah?
Teoría 5.
Teoría 5. Técnicas comunes para la llamanización. Line cliché, we know, yeah? And we did the
contrary movement.
the contrary motion, we did that one.
Yeah.
So we did that.
Yeah.
Good. Good. We did all of this.
But not the second example.
The second example, this one?
Yeah, we're
That
gonna
one?
try this one.
By
No.
fifth or something.
Oh, yeah, okay. Or, I think I did this. Sorry. So, what this is, and the first one was contrary motion. Right? So the bass, the melody is going one way, the bass going the other. This is, the idea of this is just 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, 2-5. That's all that is. So you get the bass, the original is, well, the original is, that's what it is no motion.
That's boring.
Boring. So, now my piano teacher came up with this, which I love. So
Are you
what,
playing C major? C7, dominant 7?
C7?
Yes. Because there is C minor.
Oh, I
minor
played the
7.
C7 here. I think I.
You
we
play
could make that-
C7.
Yeah.
Is
It's kind of a
C7 or C minor?
backwards, kind of a backwards 2-5.
The first is C minor.
First is C minor.
Then
Ah,
It's here.
but I am in the first in the
Example-
second bar.
Yeah, example
It's,
2,
it's a
298.
it's a 2 minor 7. It's C minor 7.
Yeah, that's what I played.
Okay.
So you could do any of those. We could come up with another one that is 2-5-E. Right? Could do. Oh. Make it a 2-5. Sorry, not on that. Can't do that. So this is more of a diatonic approach to that reharmonization. So you've got, again, the original one is very boring. This one. Or make it a 2-5, a proper 2-5. The last
Sorry,
one.
dice rearmonizando en ciclo de quinta de la nota fundamental. Pero ¿cuál es el ciclo de quinta?
De la bemol.
Dice reharmonization using cycle movement of fifths.
Yeah.
En la parte de bemol.
Pero
¿Y dónde está el movimiento de
¿dónde está el
quinta? Porque
movimiento?
el
Solo en dos acordes, los dos últimos.
entonces no hay un ciclo.
Pero
No,
sí,
in this
pero-
instance, you're
It's
right.
not-
hay
it's
do,
not a
fa,
cycle.
do, fa, si, re. El dominante sustituto.
You could do that and make it. I mean, it's possible to do
It's
it.
just
No,
fifths. No, it's not dominance. Nor it's not that.
No, the bass motion.
it
Ah,
needs
el
the
ciclo de
minors.
quinta.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the bass motion is what's in what's being
Do,
talked
fa,
about.
do, fa, si.
Mhm.
It's just two. It's a cycle. It's considered as a cycle.
You know, you can add more to that. The idea is you have some options. The options would be, if you have a melody that does one thing, do the contrary part of it. If it goes up, go down. If it goes down, go up. That's a possibility. You have cycle 5, root motion. You have cycle 4, root motion. In other words, you have options. The options are entirely up to you.
So cycle of fifth, what he's trying to say, it doesn't need to go like forever. You know,
no,
can be
no.
just one movement
You can, well, one movement doesn't create a cycle, but it,
or two.
or two.
Yeah, because actually there at the book there are movement, but it's very short.
Yeah.
At example.
That's
So-
still, you hear
But
that.
still,
Dominante contiguo, ¿sí? Como dominante contiguo.
Algo así.
¿Dónde?
Es como dominantes contiguos.
No. Eso es lo que pregunto.
Casi. Casi. No, ese es los acordes son menor, ¿no?
Alguno menor.
Creo que
Alguno
los movimientos
mayor.
de quintas o de cuartas hacia arriba, quintas descendentes.
Ujú.
Yeah, it's the bass line is what's interesting.
Do, fa, sol, fa, si.
I'm sorry. You could go there, and then it's
Okay.
completely all fifths.
Mhm.
So it's up to you. You can create the motion that you want. Whether what we've been talking about here is fifths. All right, relationship of 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, or
Okay.
2 sub 5, 2-5. Those are the normal ways of creating motion in sort of standard jazz, right? It's an engine that just pushes you forward. And if you can find that engine, if you can make those 2 5s happen, so much the better. That's all that is trying to say. You know it as a saxophone player, you do it all the time. You find, and work your way through those changes. And so do I as a jazz player. So everybody here does that at one point or another. But all I'm doing is just being academic about it, so you can do that.
In the next example, that this cycle of fifth is clearly established. That's my question about the first one.
Oh, yeah, well, here's, what are you talking about? The next
Yeah,
example?
the next.
Okay,
The next one
well,
is
here's the
completely-
tune.
Similar eso.
Right? But I heard Ray Brown going into the bridge. I said, that's brilliant. But it's cycle 5. So this is, doesn't matter, it's more how you, it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as it makes sense for you to get there. You understand?
Yes.
So in this instance, he's in E flat, and everything is chromatic. Da, 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 da. Okay, well, yeah, big deal, So you've got D, 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 D. Well, I'll call it A sharp because that's where we're going. Da, D, D. And here we're in G, right? So we're in E flat, but we go for quick modulation, or key of the moment, right? To G major, and here's the third. So he works backwards. Instead of it being E flat, E, F, F sharp to G, which is Michel Legrand, he went, okay, what are we doing? Here's D7 augmented, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's A7, here's E7,
Major 7.
no,
Major 7.
is it?
Yeah.
D7 flat 13. I think it was a major 7, it was a dominant 7. Oh, there, I mean, it could be.
Ah, okay.
Could be either. Yeah, it could be either one. Could be either one. It's your choice. You can choose anyone, and then you're going to play, if you're playing on this, you're going to play whatever you want to play on because you have freedom to do that. So. Or. Et cetera, et cetera. We all can make those choices, but the what's important is the bass line. All I'm saying is that you can use whatever cycle that you want. In this case, in the first case, it was more or less diatonic. And then we put some dominant chords in there, which ended up being sort of backward 2/5. In this example, it was chromatic, and we stopped it from being chromatic and made it cycle 5. That's all. Okay? But you have to justify.
Which key is that?
E flat.
The whole thing?
Well, I'm just giving the last end of a section. This is the key of the tune is E flat.
Oh, okay.
And then this is the bridge. So this is the last 2 bars before the bridge. And we're going to G, right? Now, let me just make sure that we're all on the same page because this is the leap that we're about to take. We're making a big leap today. So everything has been diatonic or cycle 5. And these are just examples to show you what I have in mind, okay? Now what happens when it's not that? We have, oh, and lastly, as I point out in the book, we've heard this, I think. Maxine from Donald Fagen, right? Remember this?
Yes.
Okay. Augmented major 7, right? The purpose of that chord is to delay the resolution, the same way that auxiliary diminished delay the resolution of the 1 chord. So instead of, you get, right? So that it delays the resolution of the 1 chord. In this instance, it's the same thing. Instead of going to 1, he goes to sub 5 or 4. All right, so, but this is the sound.
That's your favorite chord, right?
Huh?
That's your favorite chord.
That's my favorite chord. Played on my favorite piano.
piano.
So, but I found this chord. I'm thinking, oh, it's so cool. This chord is so hip. And it just became in vogue with jazz players in about the 80s. Everybody was playing this chord. But I found it here. Let's see if I can get my hands around this. We're in A flat. What is that? It's Mozart. I found that chord in Mozart, and it's using it exactly the same way.
Major 7 Mozart.
Augmented major 7th in Mozart.
What?
Yeah.
Séptima mayor en Bach aparece.
Et cetera, but that's the point of that chord. There's your F major triad over a D flat. I think that's great. And it's not, the point is that this has been used, this same kind of chord has been used in the same way for the same purposes for the last 200, 300 years. Not bad, not a bad little find. Now, we've talked about a couple of things. We've talked about cycle 5, we've talked about diatonic, we've talked about taking something that's chromatic and moving it with bass motion to cycle 5. You could do it the other way if you wanted to. Now, we've talked about also line cliche, or major, or right. We've done all of those things. Or those are all line cliches. Yeah, all yes. Okay, etc., etc. Okay,
Are
now.
there more cliches than this?
Huh?
Are there more kind of cliches?
I'm sure that if we
need
look
some
hard
new
enough.
We need some new extras, some new cliches.
Okay, wait a minute. Uh-huh. Oh, come on. You are not connected to the internet. Let me make sure that this. I just love the internet here.
They changed the password again.
You love everything.
They changed the password again. Who knows
The
it?
casual end keyboard.
I don't know. They have to come personally to do it in every computer. I've heard that.
You have to go to computers.
Or go to computer.
Does anybody have anything that works here?
No,
In
our own
works,
services.
in what way?
You mean internet?
Yeah. Can we get it? Do you
I can give you my hotspot.
come up here?
Come on.
$10 a minute.
Yeah.
You just connect
Charged to Oomfu.
Just connect to my iPhone and see, on your computer.
Knock yourself out. Okay. Thank you. I shall dance at your wedding.
It's been 12 years.
I'm late. I'm late.
Is it connected?
Not yet.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, so let's see if we can make this happen.
Coltrane.
Mr. Coltrane.
Which one is that?
Is it working?
Okay, does everybody know this tune?
No.
Yeah, we played last time.
I wasn't here.
Okay, here it is. Right? And then repeat, and then do the bridge. Da 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 da. And then so now that's the basic thing. Now listen to what Coltrane does with this. What is that? What?
Pedal point.
Pedal pedal point, what else?
Cliche.
And
A line
cliche.
cliche. It's doing exactly the two things that we talked about. A pedal point, there's your pedal point, and then the line cliche, right?
Mhm.
Okay, what he did change a couple of things. What did he change? And why did he change it?
Taste.
The third.
Because he's cola trained.
Call it train.
Call it right.
Cola trained.
Call it train. Mauricio te está quejando.
Divertido.
Ha sostenido mayor.
What's doing that? And can we make it stop?
It's connecting to the Bluetooth somehow.
Someone is. Por si acaso.
Oh.
Oh yeah, yeah. Somebody's connecting it from the Bluetooth.
Let's kill them.
El Bluetooth está sonando. Cualquier. Cerrado por si acaso.
I think that's it. Right? Something like that. Okay, so that is then repeated. And then A flat pedal, that pedal stays there. Right? And so he changes the melody, changes the chord quality there.
Yeah, he changed the melody there, right?
Yeah.
The,
But it's still the A flat pedal through here. And in the original,
diminished, flat diminished. No, it diminished.
And then, okay. So instead of playing that this way, he's playing very beboppy. So he's playing D. He doesn't play the F minor, but it's the same, right? It's the same chord. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. So what's that reharmonization? That confused a lot of people the other day.
Yes.
It's not that confusing. Watch. Here it is. Da, da, da.
Ahora, bemol 9.
Right? Get rid of the A7. Da, da, da. It's parallel. It's just parallel motion. F minor 7, E minor 7, E flat minor 7. Right? And you just put the A7 in there to make a 2/5. Simple as that. There's nothing more to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and you look at it and you go, oh man, why didn't you hit it? No. It's not that hard. Right? And that's a very bebop sort of approach to it.
Respect one diminishes.
Mhm.
We
Expect the diminished
expect one
one.
diminished.
Yep, and you don't get it.
No.
He gives you something else, which makes it interesting. So now, where does he go? So he delays that. It gives you one, which is strange. I usually don't do that. But he gives you one at the very last bar. Hold it, hold it, da 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 dee da, 2/5 back to the top. New one, 2-5 into the new key of D.
D.
So he moves to D.
Perdonen. Disculpen. Sé que están pegados. Disculpen.
Now this is what becomes interesting. Da 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 dee, da dee. Well, it's actually yeah. Da dee,
They are in the
Yeah,
same
somebody's
key.
connected with the Bluetooth in some other room.
They are in
Just
tune.
mute.
They are in tune.
But they were
I
in
just
tune.
muted.
Did you mute them or mute
No,
us?
mute here.
Ah, but
So-
we're gonna hear them though, are we not?
No.
Good. I mean, when I put back the,
No, no,
Por
no,
lo menos estaba
no.
en re bemol, ¿no?
okay.
Now.
Now.
El Bluetooth, exactamente.
Let's see what happens. What does he do now? Mind you, this is 1960. This song had been played since the 30s by every tenor player there was. You have to play this song in order to kind of be a tenor player. So it was the acid test of your ability. So this is 1960. Coltrane is at the top of his form. He's fully developed as a player. And this is his view of it, right? So you have to keep this in mind because of what's about to come. What was that?
Train changes.
What? What?
Sounds like train changes.
Yeah. What? Well, what is it? Let's figure it out. So we've got,
Consecutive 2-5?
listen to it again. Very, very important. Okay, what's he doing? D.
Three.
Ba-dee-da-dee-da.
Sustituto
D.
dominante.
Now what?
E minor.
Circle
F sharp minor.
Is that right? Is that right?
G minor. Next is G minor.
Are you sure?
That's right. That's a progression.
I'm looking at
Ah, sí, lo tercero.
Ah, ciclo de tercera.
Sí.
What?
Pero.
Flat three, which is what? Which is what?
D again.
Major 7, no.
Instead of F.
Ah, dominant.
Sí, dominante.
Where does it go?
Well,
B flat
B
major.
flat.
What?
Eso dominante.
sí, porque ya ahí
and
cambió.
then D flat.
Oh, I'm not supposed to do that.
Come back to D.
No, it's
D
major.
flat.
Major B flat major 7.
It's D
Yeah.
flat, right?
And then what?
Ah, I sorry, I
Ahí
did.
dice
eso.
D flat.
Que pensé que era
D
menor.
flat.
No, he dice
What?
major.
Not D flat. No,
D flat 7.
I mean,
D
at
flat
the
7.
beginning.
Dominant.
The
D.
first is D. Wow.
What the hell's going on?
Uh-huh.
Ga, 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 ga. Where are we going?
G flat.
G flat
major.
major 7.
Seven.
Ga, And then what?
Then it goes to A.
Then it goes to A, and then
Para
it
ir
goes to where?
a D major.
D.
Finally.
He's back.
Multi-tonification.
Bingo.
Oh, it's the ends.
Yep. All right, now, you follow me? You get the picture? You see this? For those of you who don't, let me put it on one line. Let me put this on one line. We're here, going.
Yeah, I can see it. There's a pattern there.
What's the pattern?
Yeah, it first is
Modulating.
minor third, and then it goes to fifth, and then I see it.
Modulating a major third down, and then another major third down. So it's multi.
Okay, looky here.
Sí.
First a minor third, then a fifth, and then a minor third, and then a fifth.
No, you modulate from D to major to a
Sí,
major
re,
third,
sí.
and then to a major third again.
Está modulando en tercera descendente
Descendente.
y tiene un dominante para ir a ese grado.
Bueno, sí, pero eso es lo importante que está modulando.
Okay, so what is the thing of it is, what's he done? He's taking the octave and he's divided it into 3 parts. So you have here D,
Tónica.
right? You have here B flat, you have here G flat.
Right?
No, my major thirds.
Sí.
Mhm.
So here is a major third, here is a major third, and here is a major third. Yep, exactly.
Tritonic system.
So he's got, his point of view is, remember I told you, this is why this is a big day, is I'm saying to you, remember what I said in my universe, I said you had all of these chords, and you go farther and farther, farther out. And then when you get to modulation, what do? Well, you have to go someplace. You have to, now you can go, if you go over here, if these two universes, right, if you want to relate them, you can relate them by common chord, pivot chords, yeah? You understand what I'm saying? So some chord from here is going to be the same as some chord from there. It's going to function differently, and you can make a bridge on that pivot chord. Or you can just say, I'm going to Pluto, although it's not a planet anymore, right? But you can go to this, but just go there. No connection at all. That's direct modulation, right? Or another possibility is you can relate these things. You can relate all of these. How do we relate them? You can make a mathematical relationship. In other words, chords that function in this key and the functions, more to the point, the functions of the chords in this key resemble the functions of the chords in these keys. And you tie them together by symmetry. Major third in this case, right? So he's divided the octave into 3 parts, right? They're 3 equal parts. An augmented triad. It's really what that is. D, F sharp, and B flat, or D, F sharp, and A sharp. Okay? On the, questions, give me your thoughts.
So basically, just trying to get into his mindset, he wanted to go to D major, and he just wanted to do something wacky, so he thought maybe going through the chords on a major third and making them like the tone of the moment, like the tonality of the moment, and then in between those do like a dominant resolution to the other chord. Maybe that's it.
In short, yes. Now, you have to remember what he was looking for. If you want to get inside the mind of this guy a little bit, what he was trying to do is his point of view was all of this is related. There is nothing foreign. It's all related. And he took that to a very far extent. He took this to a spiritual level, saying, if there is no distinction in music, if all of the scales and all of the universes are if they're all related, all we need to do is figure out what that relationship is. And then there are no longer any wrong notes. There are no, you understand what I'm getting at.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things are related, which is, first off, a very spiritual point of view, and he dug into it. He was looking for a spiritual answer to a musical question, or a musical answer to a spiritual question, maybe more accurate. And it's a fascinating, his life and his time right there is fascinating. Because he started looking at other, and he wasn't the only one, by the way. What if you divide the octave? We're talking about symmetry. Here's three equal parts. If you divide the octave into 3 equal parts, this is what you get, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can divide it into 4 equal parts, like a diminished chord, and the same symmetry is there. So, if you have your right?
Tritone.
Yeah, tritones this way
Mhm.
and that way. Right? But how do we relate these things? If we assume that a tritone is opposite of one another, which is what in one instance Bartók did. Bartók said, okay, in I think I mentioned it in the book, Blackbeard's Castle, where he has a theme in C major and he has the contrasting theme, where this one is day, this one is night, and it's in F sharp minor. You understand what I'm saying? If you want to paint those kinds of contrasts, that's an interesting way of doing it. He wasn't looking for a spiritual answer in the same way that Coltrane was. He was looking at it from a more mathematical point of view, saying, this is how we do this. Well, it's interesting. I mean, if you listen to, I'm not going to lie to you, listening to Coltrane is difficult. And it remains difficult for me to sit and listen to a lot of Coltrane, because it constantly challenges you. It's like listening to a lecture. So basically, what you have to do is you have to sit there and be challenged all the time. With Bartók, it's a little easier because it's worked out slowly. You know what I mean? So, listen to A Love Supreme. Go through that. Go through the exercise of listening to A Love Supreme. You must have heard it.
Yeah, I did. And the one that was the hardest to listen was the Interstellar theme that he plays just with the drummer.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
so-
Well, it gets. Yeah. Well, we'll get
That's
there.
another-
We'll get there. Yeah. But what I want you to hear in all of this is Supreme.
Es una que tiene 4 canciones adentro.
And it's an amazing piece. It really is. But if you look through this entire thing, you see that the multi-tonic system, and what he's getting at is that the functions ought to be the same. So if I play 2/5, to some extent, I'm oversimplifying, but if I play 2/5 in D, E minor 7, A7, right? If I play E minor 7, A7 and resolve it to B flat, it should work. Not in the same way. It's not 2/5 in the way that it functions in D, but the same concept is there. And so we're in D, 2/5. Now I'm in B flat. Sorry, I didn't play it wrong. Wow, wait a minute, it kind of works. Or get the sound. You get yeah, you get the sound. It works. Mm-hmm. What you hear in this stuff, you begin to see these relationships actually working. And some of them are more dissonant than others, but you manage those dissonances. And one of the obvious ways that Coltrane managed those dissonances was speed. If you play this, if I play 2-5-1, right, and D, you hear it makes sense. But if I play and I play it slowly, it just sounds like a bunch of wrong notes. Although it kind of works. Or let me do the more dissonant one. But if I play it quickly, you'll accept it. And I play it in a line that makes sense. All right, so what does that mean? If I play it in a line that makes sense. If I'm playing chords, 2-5 patterns, in another key, if I play it by itself, you hear that as a 2-5. Mm-hmm. But if I play, all right, or maybe let's do this. You're hearing, or you don't have too much trouble with that. It's a Lydian sound, right? But I didn't get there the way you expected it. But if I play it fast, you've heard Brecker play that 1,000 times. And going, oh, that's very cool. How is he getting those notes? Now you know. That's how he's getting those notes. So the idea is taking the melodic patterns that make sense in one key and superimposing them in another. And therefore, with the bass motion as strongly as that and the chords as strongly as that. Now,
that happened all the time in the suspone,
absolutely.
In the solo.
Yeah, that's what that is.
All the time.
Now you're getting into that world. That it's a beautiful world.
It's a hurricane world.
It's fun once you're there for a while, but it takes a little effort to stay there. So you're taking these chords and you're superimposing them in multi-tonics, so that you're not seeing this as different keys. You're seeing them as the same key, looked at from a different point of view. Right? A different angle. Very hip. Very cool stuff.
So let's play fast. And that's it.
You need water to swallow that.
I've never heard that, but I like that expression. All right, let's listen to more of this.
But it's making a lot of sense. A little step at a time, for me at least.
Well, sure. And that was my hope for this lecture. Is I wanted to. If everybody listens to Coltrane and they go, this is not for
Not
me.
in that way.
It's too hard, or I don't like it, or he's just playing a bunch of bullshit. He's not playing anything, and all of those things are wrong. And I know because I felt that way in various parts of my life, where I just said, "This is noise. This is not music." And then
could we use a key signature change when it goes to D major?
You could, but it's beside the point, because what he's saying is they're all related. He's not looking at that as being different. He's looking at it as it being the same, just different manifestation of the same thing. So if you
concert pitch. You could write it all in concert pitch.
You could write it all in concert pitch. And that's the interesting thing, is he's trying to say, if you change key, then you've defeated the purpose. I'm not changing key. I'm changing dimension. I'm changing, pick another word, but key would be incorrect because it's all the same key. And the farther and farther and farther out he just finally did do that. Say, there are no keys. The keys are irrelevant. I want to show you something once this is done. That was amazing to me. Did you see what he did there?
Está burlado.
It's more or less a repetition of that same gesture. So, so he's moving to C. So the chords are D minor, da 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 dee dee da, dee dee da, and usually this, dee da da, E flat diminished, doesn't give you that. Sus, as I recall. Changes things up. So it goes da, 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 bum, major 7, ba do dee da, sus. I don't know, where are we at in terms of beats?
No, dice complete.
So, where does he go? A flat major 7? Then what?
B7.
B7, then what?
B7 to E. If E major 7,
Major 7.
G
G flat.
7 to C.
And then
C.
they stay there.
No, 'cause then he's going, does the normal changes. Alright? So the same pattern occurs again. So he's got tonicization, dividing the octaves again into 3 parts. All right? And it's a cool way and a unique way. It's Coltrane's way
Now
of
I
dividing
see.
this up.
And the first C also. Oh, well, it's the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There is 2 bars, and C major is a bar,
Sí, do.
and there is another bar.
This is the goal.
No,
Mhm.
but it's not the same.
What do you mean?
It's a complete bar, C major.
Yes, I know. I just wrote it wrong. I did it,
Okay.
first I did it in 4, then I did it in 2. My mistake. But what's important is this.
Las terceras mayores.
The patterns are the same.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if we want to look at giant steps, which I don't want to do today, we'll come back to it. But I want to, and this is by way of introducing you to this as an approach. If you want to look at giant steps, what he does is he's creating all of these interlocking relationships. This is just, frankly, here's the general idea. I'm modulating down in major thirds, and I'm creating this amount of space doing it. With giant steps, he takes this quite a few steps beyond. And the piece tends to be very, constructed along those lines. Lots of parallel relationships. Now, carrying on from here. Last 30 seconds. What skill is that? How do you pick it up? What is that? To analyze that scale, he's playing outside. What is he playing though? Find that scale. Who wants to do that for their next for extra credit?
Me.
Okay. You got it. Right, it's at 244. Now, the only thing that I personally have trouble with, the Soli thing, is the pentatonics. It works really well. Pentatonics work very well with this, but they bore me to death. So.
Ay, chicoria.
Exactly. So please, no more pentatonics. And the other thing that works really well, if you're an accompanist with this kind of stuff, listen, imagine you're the saxophone player, and the saxophone player, or you're the piano player, and the saxophone player says, okay, I'm playing this, and I'm playing superimposition over superimposition over superimposition. So I'm playing notes that don't have anything to do with what you're playing. That's really the thing. Okay, so if I'm playing the piano, and I see a 2/5, well, that is a 2/5. So I'm going to play, and that's going to tell you that's a 2/5. but the saxophone player is playing every note in the world other than the ones that I'm playing. He's not playing my notes. All right, what do I do? Because if I do this, both of us sound wrong. I sound wrong because I'm not following the lead. I'm not following the saxophone player, and the saxophone player sounds wrong because it sounds like he's playing all the wrong notes. So what's the thing to do? Bingo! Fourths, because they're ambiguous. So you can play, this is why you hear. Play anything you want. It's going to work. Because I'm not telling you it's major, it's minor, it's this, it's that. You can't tell if that's a major or a minor chord. You don't know. It could be a sus, it could be a dominant, or it could be.
There's no third.
There's no third, so it doesn't define anything. Great for a saxophone player who's playing everything in the world, you know. So that I think, you know, that's a credit that his name was McCoy Tyner. That's a credit that he deserves because he basically brought that to the rest of the world, saying, don't outline it. Don't be that clear. Be very vague. Be vague. Don't lock you in. And I've had saxophone players say, don't play. Just leave it open. Just drums, bass, and me, because I don't want you to handcuff me in. Just let me do what I do. Play when it's your solo, then do what you want to do, but don't play behind me. And that's perfectly acceptable, you know, because at one point or another, that's the only answer there is, you know. Does anybody know Matrix? Or does everybody or nobody know Matrix? Ooh, you must know it. I'm not very good. Let me play it. It's that as almost an homage.
The 11th version, you mean?
No.
No.
Okay. What's the form? Tell me the form. That's genius. I mean, you know, I don't say that he's not a genius. I say
Qué cosa, eh?
he's not
Me
my
gusta aquí.
genius. So what did you get out of that? What do you hear? I mean, it's hard the first listening, but what do you hear out of that?
Who was that?
Chicoria.
Chicoria.
Chicoria, Roy Haynes.
My brain shut down.
And Miroslav Vitas. I saw them do this live on his 60th birthday. I think it was 60th. Yeah, I think it was his 60th birthday in New York.
In Blue Note.
Yeah.
Three months of music.
Well, that week, you know, he did 1 week, but he did every night a different.
I know the 70s years.
Yes,
He
yeah.
celebrates it maybe.
Yeah, that was 3 weeks or 3 months or some bloody thing. But they did 1 week, every night was a different band. So that was the first night. Then it ended up, I think, with the electric band, something like that. But you know, but he played with everybody that he played with over his career. It was pretty cool. Okay, so we've got a good sense of or an introduction now to multitonic systems, and that was a blues. That was a straight ahead blues. Well, far from straight ahead, but it was a blues.
Right.
Now, the last thing I want to talk about, I think we may have talked about this in the past, on page 18, where basically what we're talking about is, in the classic sense, you have theme and variation, right? You take a theme, and you vary that theme. Theme and variation, right? In this instance, it's backward. The theme stays the same. We're gonna keep the same theme, and we're gonna change the background. We're gonna change the chords. It's just another technique. These are, and I'm telling you this by way of introduction so that you can use this information. So, here's an example.
Dice.
This is page 18. get a,
Beautiful.
yeah, there was a good example of, it doesn't have to be jazz, you know, it can be something that's a little bit more accessible, you know, and using the same changes, and using a different aesthetic. So these are the things that I'm, you know, in a theory class that I want you to understand the theory, but I also want you to understand that it's up to you to do something with that theory that is a little more interesting. You have some options. I like that technique of taking the same melody and changing either the backgrounds, orchestration, or the harmonies. It's great, because it gives the player lots of things to do, but the melody everybody can hear and grasp. Okay? Questions, ideas, thoughts?
No questions.
No questions? Where are we at? Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, well, this is just, all I'm saying is that in example 300, this is on page 19. If you have a bass line, this is a question, basically an ear training question. You know, I was just thinking that would be great with vocals. That would be I should arrange that for vocal and, you know, small ensemble. I can hear I'm listening to a lead vocalist, background vocals, and violin. I'm hearing violin in that. That would add percussion, of course. That would be a very cool thing. Bongo. Why not?
Una guirita.
Sure. So if you have, so what I'm saying in this example, was it 304? You can take, you're hearing this bass line that we've all heard a million times. And you don't have that many options. People always say in ear training classes, oh, it could be anything. Well, no, it can't be anything. Not at this level. This could be, I mean, it could be, those are your choices. I mean, it's probably not in the key of C, if you're looking at it, it's not going to be, chances are it's not going to be that. Chances are it's going to be, or, you're done. And then the next one could be this. So, all right, very classical sounding, or it could be, and that's kind of it. I mean, you don't have a zillion choices. And you can, what I'm going to do is just kind of mix and match these, and they'll all work. Direction. I'm just picking one out of these things. They're just they're all unique, but those are generally your diatonic and key related choices. So in terms of when you look at this and then you look at what Coltrane did, all he did was just to try to get away from that. You know, it just, you know where those are going. You hear those every day. Let's try something else. Let's go someplace else. That's what he was doing, in essence. Okay. You want to take a break?
Yes.
We've covered a lot of ground. Take 10.
Yeah.